With this worldwide pandemic, it hopes to improve even further its standard measures not only towards good well-being but also proper sanitation. Sanitation devices in public restrooms started from manual faucets to sensor-activated ones. Soaps, sanitizers, and alcohols now have their own dispensers also, and different types of hand drying methods are available for use to a person's preference. The data that we gathered, it was proven that the use of tissue is more effective in decreasing the number of bacteria than air and jet drying techniques. So we decided to focus our innovation more on improving hand drying methods using paper tissues. Since we are currently experiencing a pandemic, contact with any human is quite dangerous since the virus can be transmitted through touch. So we decided to improve the tissue dispensers we have at present to an automatic tissue paper dispenser. We also laid out objectives for our invention. Our main objective for our invention is to lessen the risk of contamination between infected and non-infected people. Second is to install the automatic tissue dispensers in public places to provide convenience to the people. And third, to optimize the resources, specifically tissue paper, by releasing over an appropriate size of tissue paper for one use. Lastly, to help lessen the workload of our sanitary workers.
There were four problems that we identified with manual tissue dispensers. First, the foremost problem we found with our old tissue dispensing method was that it could serve as a contact point for germs to transfer to one another. Given the risk of contamination for the coronavirus is very high, we must do everything we can to reduce contact and interactions, whether it may be from people or materials. Articles show that the surface stability of the current virus ranges from 3 to 7 days, depending on what surface. Putting this into our context, thousands of people could possibly enter public restrooms between these days. If these people do not learn how to follow protocols and measures implemented by our government, then they are even more prone to being contaminated. A simple contact between bacteria and that person will highly lead to him or her being infected.
Second, manual tissue dispensers can be a hassle to most people in order for a product to thrive in the next normal. It has to have good features in areas of presentability, accessibility, and comfortability. One thing that is common nowadays with manual tissue dispensers is the need to turn the lever on the side for the tissue to roll. Now imagine the same scenario, but this time you have your hands full. This is most likely inconvenient for you since you will need to drop a few things just to get the tissue. In fact, it has been a proven study that those who prefer jet air dryers use it as a drying method because it is more accessible for personal use.
Third, the lack of tissue paper has become an alarming issue to our society. Nowadays, people tend to get more tissues than what they need, whether it be intentional or accidental. Specifically, panic buying of tissue paper has been prevalent in this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, also shows that manual tissue dispensers have the tendency to dispense an excessive amount of tissue in a single pull. Which results in excessive tissue waste. This has also caused accidental spillage of tissue that all over the area which can no longer be used since it may be contaminated with any bacteria.
Fourth, manual tissue dispensers are an inconvenience to the janitorial staff who are tasked to maintain the cleanliness of the restroom. Despite the fact that custodians are indispensable, they are often overworked and undervalued. Although it seems unlikely, manual tissue dispensers are burdensome for the janitorial staff. Because they allow for excessive amounts of toilet paper to be dispensed, it leads to more waste, which means that custodians have to empty trash cans more often. Furthermore, because manual dispensers are contact points for cross-contamination, custodians have to religiously wipe down and decontaminate the surfaces of dispensers, which ultimately which ultimately means a heavier workload.
Our product changes all of that. We propose to create an automatic tissue dispenser to certain areas of the country who need it the most. These dispensers are motion sensor activated, purposely to remove any kind of contact that may lead to the infection. Additionally, this increases safety since the tissues would be stored inside the device until they are needed to be dropped. These sensors will also increase the enlightenment for our customer since it requires less hassle of obtaining the tissue paper. With its main purpose comes a possible alternative to save tissue paper as well. Our dispenser drops tissues that are effective for only one use. If more tissues are needed, then another motion must be sensed by the device. Additionally, the device will ensure that no spoilage of tissue paper will occur to avoid waste. Lastly, the implementation of these dispensers would decrease sanitary workload, which helps efficiency working between staff. Since our product is automated, their maintenance level would also decrease. When we look into our society, we can easily distinguish places that are hotspots for bacteria and virus. You see, the reason for our product mainly focuses on its efficacy in decreasing bacterial activity. Therefore, we start proposing our innovation in those areas. These include crowded hospitals, clinics, banks, government halls, and other facilities that include social and healthcare workers. Our company hopes to start competing locally, specifically in the city of Cebu. After accomplishing our goals and objectives in Cebu, we hope to increase our population market to the neighboring cities in the Philippines.
Our expected level of impact for the project focuses on its efficacy on decreasing bacterial and viral infections. Currently, the coronavirus outbreak continues to create vast influence towards our society. According to research experts, this outbreak will most likely end by the year 2020, which, by that time our product and plan is constructed, the pandemic will also most likely be over. We also took into consideration not only this phase, new normal, but also the next normal. Our product hopes to continue thriving in the next normal through success and accomplishments based on decreasing bacterial activity in our current situation.
For this project, we are going to be spending 2 weeks to 3 months consulting with experts on how to improve the innovation and how best to execute the project. This time will also be dedicated to securing a warrant for the development of the innovation. After this, we will be spending 5 months to a year designing a prototype and performing test trials to ensure that the machine is fully functional. Then, 1 to 2 months will be spent pitching the product to companies and securing permit for installation. After which, 5 months to a year will be spent for mass production and the distribution of the product. Then, 1 month will be spent for the implementation of the product and measuring of customer satisfaction rates. Lastly, 2 weeks to a month will be spent on conducting a feedback survey regarding the effectiveness of the product. This will determine whether the innovation can be considered successful.